Learning a Hilchos Chametz U'Matzah, Perek Dalet Al tells Hamavish Pischu actually in this guy with this guy. A guy who set aside a Pesach before he became a ger, he became a ger. We'll go down to the Peirush. And so by Eviknani actually Nishtachar, if he was a Eviknani and he wasn't freed yet, and he became freed, or Kotten actually Hevis to Yisaros Vehevi, Harezim Makrivoy. After he's misgaya or freed or becomes an adult, L'Shem Pesach, and he can begin as L'Shem Pesach. She'ein Balei Chaim Lidochem. Here again, the Rambam states his halachic decision that Balei Chaim are not pushed off. In other words, while he was a goy, you couldn't bring a korban Pesach. Still, the korban is okay. Psuli Amigdoshim. Just like we said, Hilchos Psuli Amigdoshim. And I guess the Mishnah says Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yochanan says, if you set aside a Pesach before conversion or before freedom, or before becoming an adult having two siras, meaning that there's no signs of physical maturity yet, so ala Pesach acher, he has to be counted on somebody else's Pesach. He can't bring his own Pesach. Now, Rambam paskins, not according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that Balei Chaim Nidochem, that if it can't be used at the times for what it's designated, then you can't use it ever, and therefore you can bring it after he becomes a ger as a Pesach. Like a Mishnah, after he gives a new thought, and the Rambam admits that if a person pushed it off completely, for example, as we had earlier, that he set aside a female for korban Pesach, that then it is pushed away because he did it himself. Questions why, if that's the case, why before conversion, if he set it aside, you can bring it after he sets it aside. It's also a total pushing it off, because a goy has nothing to do with korban Pesach. Like Mishnah says, according to Tosfos, every place that he can rectify the psul, that which is not correct, is not called the dichui. The goy who set aside, it's in his hands to convert, and so to an eved, the odain has the ability to free him, even though he can't free himself, and it's not a permanent dichui, a total dichui, total pushing off. And you can bring it, because the Rambam paskins that ein Balei Chaim Nidochem. Marie Korkis explains in a different way. The Rambam is of the opinion when it's because of the animal, such like a female for korban Pesach has to be a male. Here the Rambam agrees that Balei Chaim are pushed off, but when he was a goy, it's not because of the animal; it's because of the owner. Therefore, we don't say Balei Chaim are pushed off. The Hilchos Yaakov Ayoshon, so Yisrael Yaakov Al-Ghazi, the father of the Rit Al-Ghazi, points out, since a goy can't make a korban Pesach, so there's no name Pesach. What there's a kedusha? He's saying, I'm going to bring something which is not. I'm making this into something which I can't use. You can't say it's pushed off in any way. Because Yaakov says that since a whole year can be brought as a shlomim, and goyim are permitted to give offerings or vow offerings, and therefore, even though he said it for a Pesach, it has the kedusha of shlomim, and it's pushed off to begin with. And then is the Balei Chaim Nidochem. Now, you can't ask in the Hilchos Yaakov for the Rambam paskins. He codifies the halacha ma'aser karbonos that a goy can only bring oilos and not shlomim, which shlomim are eaten. Because he explains the intent of the Rambam there that he doesn't bring it as a shlomim that the goy should be able to eat it, but he can bring it as an oilo that's all burnt that he can't do himself. But a shlomim, a Jew has to eat it. Therefore, so the goy sanctifies it like a shlomim, and he brings it like an oilo, and it's a dichui gomo, because you can't bring a korban Pesach as the Balai Yankiv said, that it was a shlomim. Yavni Nezer answers that the intent of the goy was not to make the animal sanctified for a korban when he was a goy, but he wanted to sanctify it that after he becomes a convert, it should be usable. And it's not considered something that's not in the world yet because he's not Jewish yet, since the animal is in the world, and therefore it should take effect Lemafreya, meaning from the day that he sanctified it. And so says the Mikdash David. What Rambam doesn't write that after he became a goy, he was in this guy, he has to do it a second time. It would seem to say that the kedusha takes place from when, from the time that he was a goy, since now he became the condition that was impeding it became negated. The Hilchos Chametz questions. Furthermore, it says until he wasn't freed and he became freed. Why shouldn't he be able to make a korban pesach? We had it before. That if he sanctified it and the owner sanctified it, he has to eat from the owners. So it must be that he received the korban pesach. His master has no right in the animal, and still the question is, the kedusha began when he was a eved. Why is it called yesh bo dichui? He's obligated anyway. And Hilchos Chametz explains that even though he's chayav in mitzvahs, still, since he's not in possession of his own physical being, because his master can decide what he's going to eat, therefore he can't sanctify a korban for himself, and it's only a kedusha midin shlomim. And regarding a korban pesach, since it's a shlomim, you can't make it back into a pesach. It's called dichui. The Mekor Baruch wants to explain the answer and push into the idea of the Rambam that we're talking to somebody who's half freed and half benechorim, even though the Rambam says a complete eved. According to the Rambam, he can't eat his own. He can't eat from his master. Therefore, he's entirely out of the portion of a Pesach. When he sets aside a Pesach, it's a Baal Chaim that's pushed away. According to the Rambam, it's not pushed away. Therefore, afterwards, you can bring it as a korban Pesach. So, because Yankiv, he questions what what's written before the minor achieved physical maturity by having 2 years. What are we talking about? If it's a cotton who doesn't comprehend vows, then it doesn't take effect at all. So it must be that he understands vows, and therefore the concept of pushing off would apply. The Hilchos Chametz continues that even though the Yerushalmi questions what's the law, what's the halacha, somebody's not chayav b'korban pesach, he makes an animal for korban pesach, if it doesn't take effect at all, or since the pesach and the rest of the year is brought as a shlomim, when he brings it as a korban pesach, when he sanctifies it to be a korban pesach, it has a rule of a shlomim. And even though there the question was not decided, still from the Yerushalmi that the Kesef Mishnah cites that if he set aside the pesach until he did not become a convert, if he was a convert, that he has to be counted a different Pesach because Balei Chaim pushed away. We see that Yerushalmi decided the issue that it could be sanctified, that even somebody who's not obligated to korban Pesach, since he has the concept of Shlomim, he can sanctify a korban Pesach. But this would be according to the opinion that Balei Chaim are pushed off, and therefore you can't use this one. It's only a shlomim. We're learning Perek Dal Halacha Yud. Hamavish mois lepischui. Somebody sets aside money for his korban pesach for his siru, and it's leftover money. So we'll go down to the Peirush. Some of the money is left over. He set aside $1,000. He only spent $500. Yavi hamois shlomim. With the extra money, he has to buy a shlomim. The Kesef Mishnah cites the Gemara in Zvachim 9a Rav Nachman says, how do I know that the extra Pesach is brought Shlomim? Because it says, you shall bring a Pesach LaHashem L'kecho Tzoin Ubokor, which means sheep and cattle. And we know a Pesach can only be brought from sheep, or not cattle, flocks. And that also includes goats. Therefore, why it says cattle? From here we see that a Moshe Pesach has to be something that comes from flocks and or cattle. And what could be possibly brought from that? Shlomim. And so we find in Psochim 70b and in Menachos 83b. Something he has others join him on his Korban Pesach and on his Chagigo. He set aside a Korban Pesach and a Chagigo for himself. He wants others to join him. The second person gives him money. The money that he takes, the Chelkom Chulin, in a certain sense they're secular. Even though one sanctified totally the sheep, one totally sanctified the money, you can never redeem sanctified items with other sanctified items. The first one who has the sheep took the money from the second one, and he made him a member of the group that's on the Pesach. The money is chulun. Because that's the way Klal Yisrael made Hegdish their Psochim and their Chagigo. So the condition was that you can add others on, and the money that they set aside for the Chagigo. And that's the condition they're able to eat with the extra money. We'll see the needs of the Seder, and that the money should remain chulun. And this condition would also be on the Chagigo. The Kesef Mishnah recites the source of this in Psochim 89b. The Ula says, and some say it was Haboshia, that maybe our fellow Talmidei Chachamim in Bovel know the reasoning as to how you can seemingly take off kedusha from the money by placing it on the kedusha of the animal. How does Hegdish work on Hegdish? Because it says the money is chulun. Rashi explains that the question is, if the person who separated the sheep for his Pesach, the other one had the money, to Rishon takes the first one, adds the second to his Pesach, but takes the money. Well, the money should still be kodesh. Certainly, if you purchase an animal with secular money, with money that's been sanctified to buy an animal, the sanctification of the money transfers itself to the animal. The money becomes secular. But here, both the sheep and the money are kodesh. How can one become secular? So the Gemara again says, there's a brayso that says that we learn from the posuk, if there aren't enough people in the house to eat the seh, when it says miyois miseh, we learned this before, achiyeyu miseh, you can make him a partner in the animal while still alive. Rashi explains that Rebbe says even if the person doesn't have what to eat the Pesach, for Pesach besides the seh, he can take somebody else to join him on the seh and on his chagigo, and the money that's in his hands is chulun, and therefore he can buy whatever he needs for Pesach, the matzahs, the morah, whatever else he wants to have. That's the condition that they sanctify their Pesachim in order that they should be able to have others join them. That the behemoth becomes a Korban Pesach, he leaves a portion of it chulun. If somebody else wants to join him, that money that he set aside with that sanctified money, it does go out the chulun because it goes onto that portion of the animal which is chulun, and the one who set aside money. Also left over, that some of the money should remain chulun. Because the Mishnah says the Rambam paskins like Rebbe, that one can buy with money everything that you need for the Seder, That's the condition that they made for their Pischem, the Chagidu saying. So Rambam Zera disagree on this, and we see the halachas like Rebbe that you can buy whatever you need for the Golden Pesach according to the Rambam and for the Leil Seder.